Sadhvi Ji is a dear soul sister and in 2022, when my husband and I were to get married in a traditional ceremony. As some of you know, we have a large network of women around the world, and we've been working since 2011 on this area of uniting the women of the world, and through the women, the whole world as one beautiful divine family. And in this work, it was a wish that I had, that I wanted to get the marriage ceremonies officiated by a female priest. There are few, really few. And so I presented my wish with a pure heart and humility to my soul sister, Puja Sadhvi Ji, to preside and do the ceremonies. And as humble as she always is, she says, I have never done that, but I'd do it for you. And she has always been present for me, our family, with so much love. And I know she travels a lot. Many of you who are from India know her already, some from abroad as well know of her. And when I asked her to come and join us in this beautiful evening with excellencies of so many countries, she told me the exact dates that I will be called the cow for a very large function which has been pre-committed. And I took that, as in our Indian civilization we always do, you accept and you surrender. Conversations around spirit, around humanity, around compassion. And I can assure you and promise you this, that if there is a doubt or a dilemma or a question in your heart, and I hope we have an formal Q&A as well after her talk, I promise that it will be answered by Sadhvi Ji to your satisfaction. Because she speaks from the common space of the soul. While we have given names to different paths, and there are beautiful different paths, she has a beautiful, blessed, magical way of uniting all the paths and walking us, hand-holding us on the chosen path that we have chosen for ourselves, whispering wisdom into our ears, lending courage to walk that path, and reminding us that all paths arise from the same place and lead to the same oneness. Without much ado, over to dear soul sister Sadhvi Ji. Thank you very much.
It's such a joy, such a blessing to be here. I love everything that my beloved sister Harbeen Ji and Winnie Ji do and envision, create. And for me, in life, dedicated to the stars, they're really about ripple impact and ripple impact of good. And so, in whatever way I can support, I'm always super happy to do it. I always a joy to just be together at that level of heart connection. Before we begin, do you want me to start with the questions? Are we still waiting for a badge? Or
So, go on here.
I'm sorry?
Go on here.
Everybody's here. Lovely. Perfect. Okay. So, in that case, let's spend a few moments together. I'll guide you through a bit of a guided meditation for a few moments. I'll then share some thoughts that arise, and then I'll open it up for whatever questions anyone has, and dive together deeply into truth, into presence, into that sacred divine energy. But let's just take a moment and allow your eyes to close. And just allow yourself to fully arrive into this moment. Our body's here, but now really consciously allow your awareness, your presence into this moment. All of the wise ones, the sages of all of our different religious and spiritual traditions have told us this moment, this very moment, was all we have. So let us arrive, show up into this moment, this breath, and just allow your awareness to unhook itself from all the sensations coming from the world around you. Most of the time, our awareness is hooked into sights and sounds, smells. But just unhook it. Really consciously and deliberately allow yourself to unhook that awareness from the constantly changing world around you and bring the awareness into the unchanging world, the eternal, spacious existence within you. That presence that is always there. Always constant. Just allow the awareness to anchor deep within. And you'll notice, of course, that the changing is not only happening in the world of sense objects outside, but it's also happening in your mind. You may notice the mind fluttering back and forth between the past, the safari you were on today, the work back at the office, or something from your family decades ago, or the future. Maybe just what's for dinner, or what you've got to do at work next week, or oh my God, what's going to happen to your kids or your grandkids 10, 20 years from now. Just notice it. Don't try to change it. It's the nature of the mind. But unhook the awareness from it. Just draw the awareness out of the changing mind and bring it down and deep back into that unchanging, eternal, infinite presence infinite perfection of that divine WICCI flowing through you. And allow the awareness to anchor your breath. Don't try to change the breath, but just allow it to be a magnet for the aware. On each exhalation, allow yourself to just let go. Let go of another role that you play. Another stress or anxiety or worry you have. Another grudge or fear or resentment or unfulfilled expectation or attachment, whatever it is, just exhale and let it go. Give it back to the universe and allow yourself to just sink deeper and deeper into that infinitely expansive presence within you. If the mind wanders, don't worry. Just lovingly and gently bring it back to the breath, back to the letting go on each exhalation, back to dropping it to that spacious presence, that source, and the peace of love, of joy within you. Slowly and gently, bring the palms of the hands together at your chest and namaste. And just gently rub the palms of your hands against each other. And place the palms of your hands over your closed eyes. And slowly lower the hands. I open the eye. So I was thinking this evening about what would be an appropriate topic to share for so many people from so many different countries, different cultures, different traditions that would be equally meaningful for those who are maybe just coming to India, just starting their time here, knowing very little about the culture, but also for those who are Indian, that have lived this their whole lives or have been here for years and have died deep. And I think the best place is actually a beautiful mantra that my guru gave me 30 years ago when I came to India. And it's a mantra that at the time seemed very simple. But as I've worked with it for 30 years now, what I discovered is that it was actually much deeper than I realized at the time, but my capacity was much more shallow. And as my capacity has deepened, the meaning and the teachings in the mantra have deepened. So I thought, let me share this with you tonight, because then wherever you are on the spectrum of immersion, it's going to be able to give you something beautiful. And the mantra is, it's in English. I didn't speak a word of Hindi at the time, but it teaches us 3 very important words and concepts in the Sanatana Dharma tradition. And the mantra says, I'll give it all to you, then we'll break it down into 3 parts. And it's really the key to a happy life. That's how he gave it to me, was this is your instruction for your practice for happiness. Because I came, as many of you probably know, but just a quick 30-second background. I come from America, as you can probably tell. I'm not Indian by blood or birth. I was born and raised in the U.S. I grew up in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, quite literally, hence the Hollywood to the Himalayas, or Himalayas as we say, title of my book. And I've had really everything that from an external level we're taught you need to be happy. The success, the money, the, privilege, all of this, a good life. And you would have said, oh, she has everything. I graduated from Stanford. I was in the mix of getting a PhD in pediatric neuropsychology. So everything was set on that level. And yet, I suffered at the inside. And I suffered in a way that so many of us, if not all of us, who have everything outside set, but don't actually know anything about ourselves or the divine, suffer. Because no amount of money or possessions or prestige or degrees or titles can actually fill that inner emptiness. I came to India at 25 with a backpack, not even consciously seeking anything. I was just on a vacation. I loved to travel. I had taken a semester off of my PhD program. Didn't know anything about India. Agreed to come only because I was a very strict vegetarian and had traveled throughout a lot of the world with quite a bit of difficulty. It's still hard to be a really strict vegan in the rest of the world, but 35, 40 years ago, it was really hard. And I knew that at least in India, I would be able to eat happily. So agreed to come. End up in Rishikesh is the very first place that we came, standing on the banks of the sacred Ganges River, the Ganga River. And I was gifted with a very deep and very profound spiritual experience. I knew in that moment that this was where I was meant. And I won't go into more of the background because otherwise I'll take all of our time doing that. But that's just kind of the framework from which this teaching was given to me. I was a 25-year-old scientific academic, thought I knew a lot. I was, getting A's and A+s in school. And so we have this illusion that we actually know something without realizing that we don't actually know anything of really what matters. And when I realized that people in Rishikesh, now it's developed a lot in 30 years, but at that time, it was much, much, much less developed. And I looked around at people who had so little, nothing by my Western standards, but who were so happy compared to the people I had grown up with in Hollywood, in Beverly Hills, in, this cream of society who had everything except happiness and accept peace and accept meaning in their lives. Remember this, these people have everything and they have nothing, but they're so happy, everything on the inside, even seemingly nothing on the outside. And that there was a secret here. And so my guru gave me this mantra as my very first. I ended up later getting, a proper Sanskrit Vedic mantra. But in the beginning days, this was here is how you find your path, your peace, your happiness, your purpose. So it solves everything that most of us are looking for. And the mantra says, engage yourself in karma. Engage yourself in karma. Under the shade of Dharma, with an awareness of God. Now, I'll break it up into 3 different pieces, but I wanted you to have it together because it rhymes nicely. So it was a way of teaching these 3 important concepts, but it was also so deep. So let's dive in. Engage yourself in karma. Well, the word karma actually means action. Most of us think it means the repercussion of actions. We say, oh, that's bad karma, good karma. Karma literally means action. Engage yourself in karma. What does that mean? We're all acting anyway, and later would learn in the Bhagavad Gita that we can't not act. So what does it mean? Well, interestingly, when I was growing up in LA, I was born in 71, so, in the 80s, I was a teenager. There was a big saying that everyone would say, the cool people would say, we are not human doings, we are human beings. We need to do less and be more. But of course, what that meant in LA was go to the beach. Lie on the beach, get a suntan, drink a pina colada. Like that was the being as the antithesis of do. It didn't make sense to me at the time, even though I was not a religious or a spiritual person, but it didn't make sense because we've been given brains. We've been given hearts, we've been given compassion, we've been given the ability to initiate, to innovate, to create. And the fact that ultimately we were meant to not do any of that and to just be covering Santana by a lion and, lying on the beach. It never made sense to me. What here in Indian culture and tradition that we are taught is it's not either or. It's being while doing. You have to act. Everything we do is an action. Acts of commission, acts of omission. Somebody falls down, you help them up. That's an action. They fall down, you don't help them up. That's also an action. Everything we're doing is action. But how do we have the sense of being while doing? So we are not identified with the doer, because that's where we get stuck. I'm the one who did such a good job. I'm the one who does everything. Why don't other people hold up their end? I always have to do everything. We all experience this in different aspects in our lives. I do the dishes every night. It's not fair. Why don't you help out? I'm the one who did the project. Why didn't he get credit for it? Why is everything random in my lap? We're the opposite. I do so much for you. Why don't you love me? We identify as the doer. But what the teaching is allow yourself to simply be the vehicle, the vessel through which the doing is happening. So karma is happening, the actions happen, but we are free from the sense of a doer's turn. There's a beautiful line in a prayer that we chant every morning at the ashram Paramarthikadan that says, Muk me horam nam ram seva hagne. And it means let God's name be on your lips. Let God's work be in your hands. It's the being while doing. You are connected to the divine inside, in the chanting, in the prayer, in the meditative state, and your hands are doing the work. It's conscious action. Be engaged in action, conscious. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yogaha karmasu kosha. Yoga is excellence in action, not inaction, not stopping action, not being instead of doing. But real yoga is having everything you do wherever you're doing. Are you meditating or are you cooking? Are you writing a report? Are you writing a book? Are you having a conversation? Are you having somebody cry on your shoulder? Are you painting a picture? Are you writing a poem? Are you giving a lecture? Are you serving food to the needy? Whatever you are doing, no matter how mundane it may feel to you, by bringing a commitment of excellence to it, it becomes yoga. And this is one of the key spiritual teachings that I've learned over these years is there's no work that is spiritual work and work that is less. A lot of us feel like, oh, I'm not doing the important work. I wish I were doing the important work. This guy's doing the important work. I'm doing just this lower work. But what the teaching reminds us is, it's not about high or low. It's not about important or unimportant in the eyes of the world. It's about your engagement with it. Whatever you are doing. Are you washing dishes? Are you sweeping the floor? We have beautiful teachings from the Ramayana, the amazing devotee named Shabari, about how to sweep the floor in a way that is so perfect that the divine shows up on her doorstep. All she did was sweep the floor. But such love, such devotion, the divine parent. So there's nothing big, there's nothing small, there's nothing high, there's nothing low. It's about our attention to it, our presence with it, our mindfulness with it. So engage yourself in harmonies. Be present, be aware, be conscious. But being while doing, have your inner work. Be anchored in being, in freedom, in presence, in consciousness, in mindfulness, in love, in non-attachment. And have your hands be doing the absolute very best. Full sincerity, full commitment. Nothing half-hearted. Fully. But without the attachment. Bhagavad Gita 101. Do your best, but don't be attached to the results of the work. So it's engage in the action and leave the rest of the hands of the divine. And then the second part, under the shade of Dharma. Dharma is not a religion. People misunderstand Sanatan Dharma as the religion, or his religion, this religion, this religion, this is a religion. It's not a dogma. It's a Dharma. Dharma is, we could spend all night coming up with different definitions. I'll throw some of them at you. The right path. The core truth, integrity, righteousness. So you say things, for example, like the dharma of water is to be white. The dharma of fire is to burn. So the essence, the core. But we also mean dharma of the way that we interact in the world, with integrity, with truthfulness, with generosity, with nonviolence, with love. That's all Dharma. Dharma is the right way, the right path. And there's a beautiful teaching that says, Dharmo rakshati rakshita. And what it means is Dharma will protect those who protect the Dharma. So it means live your life according to the right values, ethics, principles, universal Dharma, but also according to your individual Dharma. And this is really important because the universal Dharma is kind of obvious. It's the 10 commandments of different religions. It's the yam and niyam of Patanjali's 8 limbs of yoga. It's the obvious. It's don't lie, don't steal, don't hurt, don't do wrong things. Like, we know what that is. But individual, well, the individual Dharma says, what are you here for? Just because every member of your family is a doctor doesn't necessarily mean that what you are put on earth for is to be a doctor. Just because your dad really wants you to be an engineer doesn't necessarily mean that that's your highest truth. And in the Bhagavad Gita, there's a beautiful emphasis on the importance of fulfilling your dharma. Not what someone else's agenda is, not what society or culture says, oh, this is the right thing to do, samne wale kya jenge. In India, all over the world, but I found it more in India than in other parts of the world, we have a bit of a slightly contagious illness that's called samne wale kya sochenge, which is basically what are people going to think about. And a lot of us make decisions in our lives based not on the internal truth, but on what are the neighbors going to say. What are other people going to say? And how is that going to reflect? But at the end of the day, I'd never heard of anybody on their deathbed say, God, I wish I'd made the neighbors more jealous. God, I wish I'd conformed more. But what we do remember always, dear, is I wish I had lived more according to my truth. And I'll give you a very personal story of what this can look like and how it can show up in our lives. So at 25, when I knew that this is where I was meant to be, imagine that you are the parents of an only child, star academic, Stanford grad, midst of getting your PhD, who you basically figure it's just a matter of a few years until she settles down somewhere near you, starts popping out babies, you get to be grandparents, and you've got a whole agenda of what that's going to look like. And then she tells you that she's actually moving to an ashram in India. She's going to take vows of monastic renunciation. Not easy. They didn't take it easily. They weren't happy. Now, it's very challenging. Has any of us has ever seen if we've ever had to go against what a loved one, a family member, wants of us, or thinks we should do, or has any kind of agenda for how we're going to live our lives, the choices we're going to make, whether it's a career choice, a love choice, a city that we live in choice, whatever it may be. I knew I was meant to be here. I knew this was my dharma. Not easy. But eventually, by God's grace, of course, they came around. It's been 30 years now. But the reason I tell you this story. So my dad was really good about it. My mom, it was harder, even though mothers are mothers. And she had much more of an attachment to the grandchildren idea than my dad had. She got ill gray. They became happy and very proud and excited, and the work that I was doing and places I was going and people I was on stages with and whatnot. 5 years ago, my mom had a very, very severe cerebral hemorrhage stroke. I rushed back to LA. I'm the only child, and spent more than 6 months in LA. Taking her, she was at the best neurologists, best hospitals, best memory care center, best this, best that. But after 6 months, the doctor said, there's nothing more we can do for her. And she had lost all of her memory. Body was okay. There was no paralysis. But she had lost the idea of who she was, where she was, no memory of past, no recognition of relationships, anything like that. About it, she's been with me now there for the last, October will be 5 years. When we brought her, she was at death's door. Everybody thought she only had another maybe month or two left to live. I remember, in fact, praying to God. I brought her in October of 21 to India. And I remember praying to God, just let her live through the new year. Because I thought the last thing I need is people thinking I killed my mother by bringing her to India. Or that India had killed her. So I thought everybody knows she's dying. It was very obvious. She was getting worse and worse. I thought, but just let her live through the new year so it doesn't look like this country that I've adopted as my own has, killed my mom. Or that I did, and now I have to deal with this guilt forever. Here we are almost 5 years later. She's so much better. My dad and I joke that she's going to outlive both of us. She still doesn't have any memory. But I share the story with you for a very specific reason. The Gondola is the most sacred river. It is the river of liberation. It is the river to which Hindus from around the world bring the ashes of their loved ones to immerse them in this river to attain liberation, divine, ultimate freedom, moksha. This woman is going to, wherever the time is, leave her body on the banks of Ganga. Because I fulfilled my dharma of following this path. If 30 years ago I had said, oh, you don't want me to live this life, you want me to live nearby, have the kids, live a normal life, okay, I won't fulfill my dharma. I won't live my truth. I will give in to your agenda. She would not have the karmic opportunity that was given to her, this blessing in this lifetime. But we are intricately interconnected with each other, and no one is here with the Dharma. None of us has the life Dharma of preventing another person from having to learn their life lessons. But when we forsake our truth just to prevent the uncomfortableness that other people may find or feel when we choose something totally different, not only are we depriving ourselves, but we're depriving them of having the lessons and the experiences that they are meant to have here. So when we say live under the shade of Dharma, it's remember and realize that your truth, your purpose is not only critical for you, but it is a critical part of the tapestry that we live in together. If every poet buckled and became an engineer, if every artist buckled and became a doctor instead, if every musician buckled and became a businessman just like his cousins or his brother or her sisters, where would we get poetry? Where would we get music? Where would we get art? So not only would they suffer, but we would suffer. So we are intricately connected to each other. And this is very important as parents, as grandparents, as aunts, as uncles, as mentors, as teachers. A lot of us have a vision of how the youth under us, especially our children, should be. But one of the most important truths of life, and this is where karma, what we come into this life with, our karmic journey, our karmic toolkit that we come in with from our past lives that we believe in, how it intersects with Dharma is that which I come into this world with is that which I like to manifest. A peach seed is going to become a peach tree. An apple seed will become an apple tree. An orange seed will become an orange tree. You can take an orange seed and plant it in a grove of peach trees, but you're never going to get peaches out of the orange seed. But if you sailed over that orange seed, shouting at it to become a peach, comparing it with other peaches, why are you not juicy like the other peaches? Why are you in all these little segments when the peach is so nice and all one? Why are you not fuzzy? If you compare it like that, not only will you never get a peach, but you also won't get the juiciness of the orange. And so as parents, as family members, as mentors, remember when we have youth under us, the greatest gift that we can give her is to allow them to blossom into the fullness of who they are and to support them, nourish them, water that seed, but not stand over it trying to tell them what to be. And the last part of Dharma that I wanted to mention is a lot of times, especially in the work that many of you are doing, work in international leadership, work as ambassadors, work as diplomats, work as business people, is any of these fields where you're really succeeding and thriving, there are going to be people who are working against you. I have to imagine that most of you had at least a small handful of people who would have preferred that they have the post that you have instead of you. I have to imagine that there's at least a small handful of people who would like to do whatever they could to unseat you so they could be there in your place, whether in a financial level or in a diplomatic level. And a lot of us get really naturally hurt by that. We find ourselves then sometimes acting in ways that at the end of the day we don't want. But I have a lot of people sometimes say in satsang, well, we have to, like it's business or it's politics. And like, if you don't do it, well, then you're nowhere. And there's a story that I love of a sadhu, a religious renunciate, bathing in a river. And he notices a scorpion is drowning in the river. And he goes to pick up the scorpion and take it to the land so that it won't drown. But as he picks it up to carry it to the land, the scorpion stings it. And he flings his hand in pain and the scorpion falls back into the water. And again, the sadhu picks up the scorpion and again, he tries to take him to the land so the scorpion doesn't drown. And again, the scorpion stings it. And again, he flings his arm in pain. And again, the scorpion lands in the water. And there's a guy sitting on the riverbank under a tree watching this drama. And he says to the sadhu, says, "Hey, Baba, let him drown. He's just going to keep saying, let him drown." And the sadhu says, he is stinging because it is his dharma to sing. He can't help it. I am saving because it is my dharma to save. And if he's not leaving his dharma, why should I leave my dharma? And what it reminds us is there are scorpions in all aspects, in all forms. There are people who act like animals. There are people acting out of integrity. Because that's what they got. It's what they got on the inside. We can only share with the world that which we have. But we should never lose our dharma just because of how other people are being. And so it's a reminder, yes, there will be scorpions, but we need to stay anchored in what we know is right. And then lastly, with the awareness of breath. And those who are familiar with the teachings of Advaita Vedanta and other lineages, we could say Brahman or we can say Brahma. Either way, it doesn't matter. Brahma, the creator, or Brahman, the ultimate supreme reality. It means with an awareness of God, an awareness of the presence of the divine. Because otherwise we lose the purpose of life. And it doesn't matter, of course, what our religion may be, what our tradition may be, what meme or form or no meme or no form, what language, what scriptural book or no scriptural book we may use. It doesn't matter. But what matters is that connection. I saw that in my life. It was that connection with the divine that actually brought the happiness, the peace, the meaning, the fulfillment, all of that in my life that was not there. But what it also gives us is it gives us the direction. People say sometimes to us, they're like, you're devotees of God, believers in the divine. Why do you work so hard? Because we're always working. We run a whole bunch of different charitable and humanitarian programs, schools and women's centers and medical care programs and environmental programs. People are like, after Bhagwan hamaling you're devotees of God. If God is there and everything is the divine and everything is the divine perfection, why you work so hard? Let it up. And this is really a beautiful piece that I've gotten more and more deeply aware of as the years have gone by. It's not the perfection of the divine over here or us working over here. It seems like that. Either it's all up to me and I better do it, or there's a perfect divine God and I believe in God and therefore nothing for me to do. But it isn't that. It's much more subtle. The perfection of the divine universe is not minus us. It's including us. And each one of us standing up and embodying our dharma, showing up, serving in whatever capacity, is a critical part of the perfection of the perfect universe. And so, yes, we believe in the divine, and therefore, we serve as instruments, not as the doers, as instruments. We were talking at lunch today about that beautiful overlap between what we think of as nimit matraba, this bob, this feeling of being an instrument in the divine's hands, just an instrument. And the same as the beautiful prayer of St. Francis of Assisi. O Lord, make me an instrument of thy grace, an instrument of thy mercy. Where there is darkness, let me bring light. Where there is hatred, love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is despair, hope. Let me be that instrument. And I think for me, this is one of the most critical pieces right now in our life. And I'll end with this. With what we're seeing in the world, from poverty, exploitation, oppression, war, violence, climate change, environmental destruction. It is a time where everyone of us has the dharma of showing up in a critical way, a different way for each of us, but a critical way. None of us is meant to just sit this one out. Every one of us is meant to be a critical part of that perfection of the unfolding of the universe. None of us has been handed the role of just point a finger at other people. Nobody's been given the role of just point out what's wrong or complain or blame. But it's the time for what we call karma yoga. And that's really what brings it all together. That karma, that action of unity, of oneness, in which everything we do, from our jobs to the way we treat the person at the grocery store who's checking us out, to the way we are interacting as we move through the world, to how we eat, to how we dress, to how we shop, to how we work. Every bit of it is made to be a way of a ripple impact of good. And what I've found in my life and what I've learned in the 30 years here is that when we are living in alignment, that's when the real joy comes. No amount of parties or vacations or pizza or ice cream or shopping trips or anything can actually give us the deep satisfaction, the deep fulfillment, the deep need of being engaged in a way that is meaningful, a way that is in alignment, a way that is in our unique dharma, not somebody else's dharma, but our unique dharma, such that whatever we do becomes part of our spiritual practice. Otherwise, we end up in that situation where it's like, oh, these are my 15 minutes or 20 minutes or 2 hours of spiritual practice a day, and all of the rest is the hell I have to live. And that's how so many of the ickies makes. This is my spiritual time, and all of the rest is, oh my God, this and that must boys. But that's not how we want it. How to make everything we do that spiritual practice. So I hope that you will take this moment, allow it to percolate within you, wherever you are on your spiritual path. And the only piece that I would mention lastly is keep checking in with it. Because if you're anything like I am, what you're going to find is that every month, every year, it actually opens and it means something deeper. And it actually guides you deeper and deeper on your path as you work with your action, your purpose, the action karma, the purpose, the dharma, and that presence of the divine, whatever that means for you, and how that presence is inside each of us. So I want to end here so that we can take whatever questions that anybody has. And I just want to preface this with, there's no such thing as a wrong question. There's no such thing as a silly question. There's no such thing as a stupid question. I always have people say, well, I know this may be a silly question, but, or I know this isn't an important question, but. Coming together in community is one of the most powerful ones we can do. And having the questions of our heart shared and having answers flow together is one of the most powerful spiritual practices. So I open it up to any questions that anyone has. And we have lots of mics. I had two, another one. I also have 2 other ones here. Yes. Yes. Any questions?
Just raise your hand. Yeah.
It's always hard to be the first. Yes.
I want to broken the ice first. Thank you, first of all. So, we want to say thanks to Dr. Harbeen, Dr. Rai, to give us the opportunity to have here one of the most outstanding spiritual leaders. Whereas not only being the world, we are listening this very deep, very profound wisdom, displaying in a very simple words what is karma, dharma, and brahma. Thank you, Sadhvi Ji, for presenting us beautiful way. Let me tell you one personal experience when I came here 2 years ago. I was very skeptic about his what is. But as soon as I arrived to my hotel, in the library telling for the book title is Interest, God's Race, and happened to be the author, Sadhvi Ji, and his wife Ji, the spiritual leader of Parliament Ashram, here in this case. After in my hands that book, I didn't imagine a few months later I had the privilege to stay at Ashraf. Is the most one of the most beautiful. I have been so many times doing yoga meditation, listening to stories, and there is also an invitation to have yoga lessons in the International Day of Yoga, June 21st. Allow me to share with everybody that then also on behalf of the invite.
I'm so excited and my heart.
Okay, thank you very much. Was fantastic that experience. Strategy is not only for studying snack in Stanford, it's a professional background. They have a lot of philanthropic activities in education, but one also very important. So if you didn't mention it's Sadhvi Ji and Saraswati, they are the author of the Hindu Encyclopedia. The Hindu Encyclopedia is the most comprehensive work about Hinduism, traditions, culture, music, history, etc. That give to the world is in English, and I'm working to. I think we need also to have in Spanish. And one of my dreams is one day we have this treasure of the world in Spanish. Just to finish, something G didn't mention, I'm very proud also to tell you in her biography. Before coming to Rishikesh, she came to my country, Ecuador. She was teaching English to the Ecuadorian students long time ago before to come here. Now, just to finish one question, because that's the reason. We are diplomats dealing with geopolitics. We are dealing with conflicts, of course. We are really always politicians and so on. But at some point, we cannot have all answers to this corporate war. The question is, could we have or could we talk about some diplomacy, spiritual diplomacy? What can it sounds strange, but spiritual diplomacy? But at the end, we don't have to forget, as a human beings, the diplomats also have soul. We are not machines. We have one some right, but also we have soul. She then says, I will listen. What could be some kind of suggestion, some kind of how to diplomacy also could break the rules and have another approach, not only thinking about geopolitics, thinking about the big business. How can we approach to touch the hero? Thank you very much. So,
It's a beautiful concept, spiritual diplomacy. And, you all have a really unique tool because you're official. So you're not just a random person from a certain country. You are official representatives of the country. And yet, you're in a diplomatic position, not a political one. And so you are not expected to engage too politically, but much more diplomatically, which is actually a wonderful blessing because when you come together, it's not just Ecuador and Peru coming together as two people from those countries. It's actually countries coming together. It has huge impact. And as you all come together individually and meet and connect in community, you get to then ripple out into your countries of origin. First of all, in and of itself, these are beautiful, but also the ripple impact back into your country of what is it like here in India? What is it like that this ambassador of this country, that country? The messages that you send back are vitally important. You are the official representatives of the country. How are the messages that go back? What is the tone? What is the flavor? What is the feeling? Are they that which are along the lines of peace and togetherness and oneness and harmony? Or are they more along the lines of conflict and competition? And obviously, there's a lot of nuances and aspects. There's business, there's economics, there's this, there's that. But you have a really beautiful role because you're coming here. It's almost like a united creations come together. So the United Nations, we have the ministerial and political case coming together. But here you are representing your countries from a place of really bringing union, understanding, diplomacy together. So when you anchor individually spiritually, then when you meet each other, that's the level you're going to meet. You know, we believe scriptural teaching says Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world is a family. It was, of course, the motto that our Prime Minister Modi ji gave, like India could stick the G20 or the G20 presidency. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one world, one family, one kitchen. That's the message. When you all, as diplomats, remember, not just I am Ecuador, but I'm human. Because long before you are Ecuador, you are human. And here as a representative, not only of Ecuador, but a representative of humanity. And then you come together as humanity. That's really what we need. And the ripple impact of that back in your countries is very important. So, yeah, I think more and more of the sorts of events like this, bringing them together. And as you say, you know, every International Yoga Day on the 21st, we have ambassadors of so many countries who come. I'm sure many of you will already be coming. But those of you who are not already planning to come, please do come and join us. It is an open invitation. We would love to have you. Bring your families, spouses, kids, parents, anybody. Because yoga is union. And so you get to bring this deep remembrance. You know, the highest, when human beings remember their highest truth, we remember that we are humanity. And when humanity remembers its highest truth, then we remember that we are that divinity. So we come in as humans, we remember our oneness in humanity, and then remember our oneness in that infinite divinity. Beautiful. And thank you for being an ambassador of Parmar Takeathon as well. He's not only an Ecuador ambassador, he's now our ashram ambassador also. Wonderful. Thank you. Other questions? Any questions?
I have a question. Yes, I appreciate. So, like Ambassador mentioned, that you are not only famous in India, but you are world famous. And it's true, you know, we follow you. You sit on some of the most important dioceses, sharing stage with former heads of state, Nobel laureates. You are, you know, everywhere. And then I also see you in the ashram with little children, you know, taking moments to interact with them, be with them. How do you navigate this, keep the sense of oneness and not let these roles or stages or high profile identities either define you or lose that sense of purpose when you're doing your everyday work? I am, you know, already you mentioned about it, but sometimes when you are in these roles full of power, and time moves in a very different way when you are in roots of power. You say something, it's heard by the right people. You want something done, it's done very quickly, right? And then you come to the other local, the other world, where time moves in a very different way. So how do you keep your sense of your balance or your core identity together as you really move very fast in the different dimensions?
It's a great question. For me, the answer is by being really clear about who I am and what my dharma is, what I'm here for. I'll tell you a personal story for me of how this solidified a mill could. So many, many years ago, I was in Seoul, South Korea, a city of 100,000 people or so. And there was literally an Olympic type of rally, a parade, and all of the different leaders. And from Seoul, I was not coming straight back to India. I was flying to New York to be at the UN, where I'd had the beautiful blessing of doing a lot of different types of work. So I was going to be there at an event of some sort. I don't remember what type. And the day just before I was going to be at the UN, I was going to be in New Jersey with a community in one of the Hindu temples doing a spiritual satsang and discourse in Raifaa. And as I was walking through the Seoul airport, I was kind of talking to myself and laughing. I'm an only child, so I don't have any siblings to have inside jokes with. So I grew up having inside jokes with myself. I had to be my own best friend. And it said, "You're just here to spread love and peace." And I went, "Oh." And suddenly it made sense. I said, "Oh, yeah, okay. Love and peace. And here's what love and peace looks like in a stadium full of people. And here's what it looks like at the UN talking about toilets for women and menstrual hygiene and whatever else you were talking about that day. And here's what it looks like sitting in a Hindu temple talking about Hanumanji or Krishna or whatever we were talking about. And here's what it looks like with the kids in the ashram. And here's what it looks like at this situation. Here's what it looks like there." And suddenly the roles are kind of an irrelevance because there's simply different venues in which you're doing exactly the same thing. And so the question becomes not about what is the role, but it becomes about how does love and peace manifest itself in this situation? What am I bringing to this situation that is A, unique and worth slapping 2/3 of the world to show up here? Because you start to become really clear. And I go, I didn't take vows of renunciation to just have a picture taken with some aboard people. Clearly, there's a much higher, deeper meaning. And even if you're not a monastic renunciant, as deeply spiritual people, we realize very quickly, I'm not doing this for the money or for the thing, because that gets very old, very quick. It's very exciting when you've never had any of it. But the moment that you started to taste it a little bit, and it loses its interest very quick. So you realize very soon that all of that kind of heady allure of this situation or that situation, that there's nothing there. And that it shifts simply into, what am I bringing to this one? What is it that the universe has put me here for? That required sending me from Seoul to New York or to Rishikesh or LA or whatever it is. Here you show how many minutes, days, weeks, months, years left of life nobody knows. Where are you right now? It's like that meditation we began. Arrive into the moment. What is the moment asking of us? let it be. Okay. So it looks different. We're not sitting with my mom at the end of the day than it does on a stage, than it does with the kids, than it does in a meeting about our schools, than it does in a video, than it does. But the intention is this thing. How can I show up everywhere with that same attention, that same dog? So that for me is a key piece of it. The other piece was two other reasons. One is a good sense of humor coupled with a lot of humility. Is not taking yourself too seriously with a lot of humility. And that for me is, it was like the conversation I was having in the solar one. It wasn't that I had any delusion of my grandeur and that I was in this stadium or the UN in it. It was just like, God, what is this adventure that you put me on? And who am I? What is this adventure like? And I was marveling at the unexpectedness of it. And I think to the extent that you can bring a gentle sense of humor coupled with humility, coupled with taking oneself quite lightly. It's like, if you've ever been in a school play. I went to a very small private elementary school, junior high, and high school, in which whenever we did school plays, almost all of us met to play several roles. So you'd go out, be the role of this, and then you'd come back and quick, up with the flows, on with the new costume, out. And same you. And as kids, and you'd leave on part of one role, you'd forget to take it. And you realize, they're just costumes, it's just roles. I forgot I'm saying the lines of me as the soldier when I'm supposed to be saying the lines of me as the princess. They're just roles. And you laugh it off because you realize, well, I'm not those roles. I am that, from a Vedantic standpoint, we would say, I am that consciousness. I am that pure awareness. You could just say, I am that self. Or I am that spirit, or I am that me, or I am that truth. However it feels to you. But it's a core identity. If my identity is shifting based on my roles, then my sense of self is going to constantly go up. I'm doing something important. I'm on a big stage. I am great and wonderful. I'm preparing some report that the government of India requires of NGOs. I'm core. I'm putting a Band-Aid on. I'm a nurse. I'm doing this, I'm important. I'm doing this, I'm unimportant. I'm doing this, it's fun. I'm doing this, I hate it. And then you're in a constant state of ungroundedness based on how much respect or lack of respect or ease or lack of ease you're getting in each other. And this is why in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says the wise one is the one who is the same in success, in failure, in gain, in loss, in pleasure, in pain. It's not that the yogi is unable to distinguish between pleasure and pain, but that nature doesn't change. The internal sense of self, you can play them better than us as, fifth grade kids on a stage. Good actors, actresses, they play good roles. Famous actors and actresses frequently have many projects happening simultaneously. You're the murderer over here. You're the policeman over there. You're this over here. They do it easy because they don't identify. They remember they're the one playing. So for me, that's the other very important piece. And lastly, there's a practice that for me is a really core and personal practice that I will share with you all. And it's a practice called Niti. And It literally means not this, not this. And it's a meditative practice that one does in a meditation. I won't take you through it now just due to shortage of time, but you can imagine what it's like and you can walk through it on your own, where you go layer by layer. I am not the clothes that I wear. We know them. We change our clothes at least once a day, if not so. Who I am doesn't change. I am not the skin beneath my clothes. I didn't even know that. Our skin cells are constantly sloughing off. You get sunburned, you peel. For sure your heart doesn't change. I'm not the blood flowing beneath my skin. Like, of course, you donate blood, you get a blood transfusion, the blood cells are constantly regenerating, but we're not changing. And you go layer by layer, my bones, my organs, my muscles. I am not these things. And then you get to a very interesting place where you say, I am not the chemical. I am not dopamine. I am not serotonin. I am not oxytocin. I am not adrenaline. I am not cortisol. I am not obviously not a chemical. I'm not electricity. I'm not an electrical impulse that is running down an axon in my brain. Obvious. Well, if I'm not the chemistry and I'm not the electricity, it means I'm not my thoughts. I'm not my emotions. I'm not my memories. I'm not my personality. Every single thing that takes place in our mind is a chemical and electrical pattern back to. But if I'm not the chemistry and I'm not the electricity, I'm not the thoughts, I'm not the emotions, I'm not the feeling state, I'm not the memory. And you go through all of this until you remove all of that you might possibly be. And you realize that you're none of that. And then you enter a state that in Buddhism tends to be referred to as nothingness or emptiness, shunya. And in Hinduism tends to be referred to as everything, pouring. But it's the same experience. And into that state, the experience of actually who you are arises. So that's the meditative way, but I mention it to you specifically because this is what I use during the day as well. So you are in a situation where you're being applauded or respected or celebrated, or what you, as you say, what you want happens right away. A position of power. But you remember, anything. I am not this. I am not the projections of other people onto me. I'm not the praise. I'm not the respect. I'm not even the one of you is being praised or respected. I am not. I'm not the power. And similarly, in the moments that feel more frustrating, powerless, where people are maybe insulting you or criticizing you or trying to bring you down, or also, not this. I am not the projections of others. I'm not the projections of my own mind. I'm not the role of it. It's an all day long practice. You walk along the mirror, you catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror, the mind goes, oh, and sex. Not that. Neither am I the body, nor am I the mind that has decided that it looks acceptable enough that we're going to call it sex or beautiful, whatever. Similarly, catch a glimpse, the mind says, oh my God, look, you're slouching, you're fat, those clothes are awful. Not this, not this. And so if you can just carry that into all of your situations, all of the roles, for me, it's a really useful practice. Otherwise, you end up sort of inflated in the moments of respect. And then you're like, oh my God, what has happened in the moments of output? And you become like, a ping pong ball that's just getting hit back and forth. But your other need, not this. I am that light of awareness. I am that pure consciousness that is unattached. The light shines on everything, the rich, the poor, the powerful, the powerless, the happy, the unhappy. I'm that light. I'm the light of awareness. I'm not the current state. I'm that light. And you just keep coming back to that awareness of who you really are. And it keeps you very grounded, very anchored. And it's a personal practice that I work with a lot. I find very, very helpful. Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you very much, Ruji. I'm sure when you agree for mass religious gathering or specialized forums around the world, you can almost tell the kind of audiences you're going to have and the impact that projection will have on those audiences. You said you go on for generations, knowing audience, knowing the impact that you have. And I'm curious to listen to your views on one you will think about an audience in an AI world where the invented robot kinds, the human race. We are witnessing right now that our children, personality, are changing completely and different from the personality that we grew up with, we know, the society that grew up with. How far are we going to give as audiences that are essentially a different kind of human being, a robotizing kind of human being of AI very blessed areas.
It comes up a lot. People are great. We should be. So AI is a tool. It's a fantastic tool. It's wonderful. But we were never meant to hand over our lives to tools. We use them. But we were never meant to have them use us. Just because I have a blender doesn't mean that I blend things all day long, or that I throw every single thing I own into the blender. I have a toaster. It doesn't mean I only eat toast or stick everything into the toaster. We had tools for a really long time. Simple tools, complex tools. Yeah. French press, random, little French press to fancy cappuccino maker. But neither a simple tool nor the complex tool do I forget and think that I'm supposed to just sort of stand here and drink coffee all the time. We understand it's meant to be used for what I need when I need it. And then the rest of my life, I'm meant to not use it. But with AI, somehow we've got to a place where we have essentially started outsourcing our lives to. It's like throw everything in the blender. We've got this blender, a TV in the blender, bed in the blender, kids in the blender. No, it's not meant to do that. AI, it's not meant for that. Just gonna keep doing it. It will never replace the power of the energy of a human connection. I'll tell you a personal kind of funny story, recent story about this. A couple weeks ago, I was traveling in the US, and I was in Boston for a day, and I had 5 events in one day. 4 in person at 4 different places and 1 online. The next morning, I was flying from Boston to the Bahamas to lead a retreat. So that morning, I'm at the airport in Boston to fly in the Bahamas. I'm quite exhausted. I had 5 programs the day before, and we had reached only kind of in the middle of the night due to a bit of a travel snafu. So I get to the airport, and I want to get coffee before my flight to the Bahamas. But I'm a vegan. In every place where I don't know specifically, like I don't drink any commercial milk. If people have cows, there's a goshala, I know they're being treated nicely and well, I'll drink it. Otherwise, I don't. So abroad, I don't touch the milk. So ChatGPT knows me very well. It finds me vegan things all over the world. So I get into the airport, I clear security, and I say to ChatGPT, I'm in the Boston airport, Terminal C. I've got a flight comes D29. Where is the closest, best place that I can get a cup of good coffee with some kind of nice vegan milk? There was a Starbucks near my gate, but I didn't want to go there. I was looking for something a little bit nicer. So ChatGPT tells me that at gate C15, there is this very nice Italian coffee. Gives me the name, I forget the name, but at C15, there's this, and you will have a nice cup of coffee, and definitely they will have some kind of almond milk or oat milk or something. So I walk all the way over to gate C15, which was on the other side of the security. That you walk through security, 1 through 15 is this way, 16 through 30 is that way. So I cross back the security, go over there, get to gate C15. No coffee, Joe. It's not what it's for. Just because AI can give advice doesn't mean we should be allowed to use it for that, or that our kids should be allowed to use it. There have to be regulations around it, and we have to be the ones to bring those in. It's not going to happen automatically. Nobody who has a financial interest in it is going to want to curtail it in any way. So somewhere, first from the perspective of our buddhi, our intellect, then from the perspective of shukti, purity, we have to realize how literally minds are being polluted with untruths. I mean, we know that it makes mistakes with facts all the time. My non-existent Italian coffee shop being just one example, but we know that it makes stuff up all the time. My dad is a lawyer and tells me all the time how so many of his colleagues have gotten into really bad trouble because AI will write briefs, it'll do everything for you. And it's wonderful. But it comes up with citations and footnotes and references that don't exist. It just makes stuff up. And I hear it from him in the law sector, but I'm sure it's true all over. It just makes stuff up. So we have to limit the degree of control that we allow to have over our advice. But we also have to take personal control. How much am I prepared to outsource? How much am I prepared to have my kids outsource? It's an important topic.
It's very common as a country because we live in a community and as a family also. But not thinking about it uh, takes you to individualism. And but you at the same time you want to think about community as a whole, family as a whole. and you end up taking a decision which you know will discomfort other people. So, how do you decide whether it is coming from a place of ego, from us, or from them? And how do you deal with the discomfort of taking that decision? Because you wanted to do it, that's why you did it. And now neither you are happy or the people around you are happy.
Yeah. It's so hard because there is so much pressure, family pressure, community pressure. And when I'm talking about not giving in to something about like I'm talking about another levels of really life done. There's certain ways that we adopt. Okay, people want with it, no problem. Not a big deal. But actual life purpose, life paths, those you should never give. And the truth is, people who really ultimately love you, they'll come around. My parents came around, and that wasn't easy. But when people really love people, more than they love their own agendas, more than they love their own attachments or their own insecurities, they're going to finally support you. They'll get over it. And having to do that work is part of their karma package. So if you buckle and you don't make that personal truth decision, you're depriving them of doing that piece of work that's so important for them. For example, the parents of someone who is a poet, dharmically, obviously, or a musician or an artist, who've always wanted him to be a doctor or an engineer. And so maybe they push. But when he pushes back and says, no, I know this is my dharma, even if it means I'm going to not have much money, that's okay. I'd rather be a poor, hungry painter than a rich business person. What we gain through the internal work of overcoming our insecurities of what are the neighbors going to say? What is the community going to say? Oh my God, my kid's a painter instead of a businessman. Living in a, 1-bedroom apartment instead of a big house like everybody else has. As we get over that, we do a lot of really deep, important spiritual work. And so that person making that decision becomes a blessing actually for the rest of the family, because it forced everybody else to have to look within at what really are the priorities. Do I want it to be a miserable businessman or a joyful painter? And even though the life decision that my life took me in was vastly different than the package that my parents thought my life would be, ultimately they realized this was what was bringing me happiness. And as parents, ultimately what we want is that our kids are happy. We knew we'd like them to be happy according to our agenda, but more importantly than that is they should be happy. So people will come around if they have the psychological and spiritual health to be flexible. If they don't have that, if they're very rigid, then okay. Not that you can use. Then, it's literally the equivalent of like trying to get a chain smoker who's dying of lung cancer to quit something. You want them to. You try to help them do it. You try to convince them to do it. You show them to do it. But ultimately, everybody's karmic journey is really only in their own hands. But none of us is here. As I said earlier, none of us here to prevent someone else from not going through it. But then, as you say, how do we know? Well, the way to know is with time and presence. Don't make decisions reactively. especially decisions that are going to have that type of ramification on family or community. They should be taken very carefully, very calmly, over time. If it's true today, it will be true tomorrow. It'll be true next week. If today you realize your truth is different from what everybody wants you to do, give it some time. If it's really your truth, it'll still be your truth next week. But give it the week. Come back to it. If it's a huge life decision, give it another month. Don't jump into something rashly. If the mind is saying, now, gotta do it, chances are it's reaction, Madam Litter. Chances are it's just desire or it's fear rather than actual dharma. So you don't want to be impulsive. Because A, that's going to hurt or alienate other people, and B, it's only going to hurt you anyway at the end of the day. Give it time, meditate on it, sit with it quietly, in stillness. You'll feel it, you'll know, and give it the test of time. Dharmic decisions are not usually the ones we have to make overnight. Give it a little bit of time to kind of marinate. If it's really your dharma, it's going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. Like Swamiji sent me back to America. He didn't let you just say, send me back, finish the next test. And every day that I was away from here, every day that I was marinating literally in the oceans, that my dharma was something different. The awareness that I was made to be here got stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. So give it that.
Thank you. Thank you, Sadhvi Ji. I studied in Paris. I was doing my studies in theater, and I would go to the theater to watch a lot of theater. Before that, I was in London, and what I would realize at the end of the play, everybody would clap, right? Everybody would clap to acknowledge the beautiful performance. And if everybody enjoyed it very much, we would do a second round of applause. And we would do a third round of applause to encourage all the acting way of the Eastern way to acknowledge what had been created in those moments. And and that's a testimony to the spiritual experience that we are all having through elevated conversations, contrasting to certain social experiences or social learnings that we might have. So while he started this session with an applause for you, I think it ends very befittingly, the very deep silence, absorption, for receiving so much wisdom and taking our truths home deeper with it, and speaking tonight with relating it those universal truths. And I don't have many words except I'd be saying in India, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Good evening. Books. Holy that you get to